Smell what the rock is cooking?
Anyone can capture pretty pictures, but not everyone can tell a story.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is...
So today, I'm gonna show you how I do it. Last night, we went out and saw the Michael movie, and it was so amazing because I forgot how influential Michael Jackson has been in my career. A lot of people saw a movie like Star Wars, or they ran around with an old Polaroid camera as a kid and it completely changed their life. But for me, it was Thriller, and more specifically, the making of Thriller. I don't remember the first time I saw it, but I think my sister had recorded the making of Thriller when it came on TV one day. And, you know, this is VHS days, and we didn't have cable, so I would watch the making of Thriller over and over and over again. Jonathan Landis and Rick Baker, and just seeing all of the pieces that go into a music video, it completely changed my perspective. I didn't realize how massive a production could be, but what really put it over the top for me was when I found out why the making of Thriller was even created. Thriller wasn't the first music video, and it probably wasn't the first one that really was a short film, but it was revolutionary in a very important way. Michael had a vision for what he wanted the Thriller music video to be, and his record label did not agree. They thought that it was way too much money to spend on what they called a vanity project, so they wouldn't finance it. So he decided to reach out to MTV, and he sold the rights to the making of Thriller to them so that he could get financing for his film. And when I learned that, it completely changed the way I looked at art. I thought there was no way to be able to do anything unless you were independently wealthy. But that taught me that if you can find a way to align your vision, your message, your project with a brand, or really just an investor, you can get your art financed. And from that day on, I realized it wasn't about the resources that I personally had access to. It was me being able to find someone who believed in me. Michael inspired me, not because of the way he danced or his music, but he showed me that you can be creative in all things, not just the execution of your art, but also in how you get it paid for. And that's a lesson that I haven't forgotten to this day. This video was sponsored by Track Club. The mistake is trying to make your life bigger than it actually is, instead of just being honest about it. I'm a father, creative, and aspiring electrician. My inspiration comes from life. The more experiences I have, the more I have to draw from. Being authentic isn't a technique. It's a necessity. So once I have an idea, I have a topic, whatever it is, I just record authentically. And I think this is a very important piece of my process. But I think what a lot of people who want to be more authentic forget is that you never have to release the video. When I record, I'm not thinking about how someone is going to view this video, because there's no assumption that that video is ever going to be released. I just have a conversation to the camera about whatever it is I want to talk about. I record every single day. And I understand that might sound a little pretentious, like, all right, dude, you record every single day, but you never put videos out. Fair. What you're seeing here is all the videos that I've started, but I have not been able to finish due to packaging in some way. Either I don't have a proper thumbnail, I don't have a really clear idea as to what this video is. I can't just put out whatever I want. Or maybe I can, but I just have to really think about how I come up with my ideas and my titles and my thumbnails. Otherwise, they may not be seen. Some of my favorite videos are videos that have 200, 300 views, and that's okay. It's just a learning lesson for me, but over time, it does get frustrating if your videos aren't seen the way you like. So you start to really obsess over this sort of thing. And what happens is you end up with this. Probably 40 videos that I've started but just don't feel comfortable completing just yet. Because I'm always recording something, at this point I can start going into these folders and seeing what I have, because a lot of the things that I've recorded are often related, because that's just where my mind is at that moment. My Pages series is more of a day in the life, so that tends to be more chronological. But when I get into Dad's Diaries, that's when I tap more into the introspective side of things, where I pull the thoughts and not necessarily the what. Narrative pacing is the rhythm of the story. And for me, it has less to do with editing than it does patience. Little by little, moments become narratives. I don't force anything. I just discover connections. My process is just paying attention, collecting moments and shaping the story afterward. Pacing isn't about speed. It's about progression. Sometimes it's fast, other times it's slow. But the main thing is that we're always moving forward. So let's talk about narrative pacing. It is perhaps one of the most overlooked parts of crafting more interesting videos. Now, I've been documenting my life for the better part of a decade, and there was a time when I really pressed myself to try to create stuff very frequently, like almost daily. And I don't live a particularly interesting life. I, prioritize being a parent. So there's not as much time for me to really sit there and just dedicate all day to working on my videos. But what I've found is that if I let my ideas breathe a little bit longer and develop over a longer period of time, I'm able to make more interesting videos. Occasionally I will have a video that I can do in maybe 2 or 3 days where there's a beginning, middle, and end, perfect story arc, particularly if it's some kind of tutorial or a build or some kind of project. But in terms of my actual day-to-day life, not so much. So if I give myself at least a week timeline to work with, it really helps me to find the most interesting parts of my life to highlight and also be a little bit more introspective. Typically, after I take a step back, I can more clearly see what I was experiencing, how I felt, and how I was able to navigate a situation. Whereas if I was doing it day to day, I just could not do it as well. Now, it's not that day in the life or daily is wrong. It's just not necessarily the type of storytelling that I want to do. But that also explains why you see so many different videos started. Some of those ideas are things I just need more time to develop. Maybe I started a particular project and I'm waiting for pieces to arrive, or I'm still working on it. It's just an ongoing thing. And as I complete different parts of that video, I put them in the folder, I work on that video slowly in the background, and over time I complete the video. I'm not constantly living in one particular video or in one particular moment in my life. I'm thinking about all of them all the time. Historically, one of my biggest challenges in making this type of content is that I just run out of ideas. Like, I don't know where else to go. I don't know what else to do. I feel like I'm just doing the same things over and over and over again. But now that I document all my thoughts and feelings and then compartmentalize them into different ideas, I kind of always have somewhere to go. One more thing that I think really helps my pacing is there's often multiple stories in my videos. I'll have like an A story and a B story. There's typically a broader theme that's more for the viewer, and then there's the more personal storyline for the community. And I'm not saying this is the right thing to do. Some would say that those should be 2 separate videos, but personally, this is what I find most interesting, and this is what I'm enjoying creating the most.
Everything starts with attention. If you can't stop someone from scrolling, then nothing else matters. Hooks are easy when you're making something designed to stand out, but what about when you're just documenting your life? What could you possibly say that would make your boring life sound interesting enough for someone to watch it? Well, what if you don't have to say anything? What if you've been thinking about this wrong the entire time?
I wish somebody had told me this sooner. Sound familiar? Probably seen someone talk about the idea of hooks and how important they are. And I've always been a storyteller, but I wasn't always a content creator. And it's a little bit different. When you're watching a film or a television show, people have already bought in. They've agreed to sit down and watch your show for 30 minutes, an hour, hour and a half, whatever the runtime is, and then decide how they feel about it after the fact. But when it comes to social media, it's not the same. People stumble across your content, it gets shared to them, and possibly just recommended. And as a result,
you haven't made that same agreement. So hooks are incredibly important. So what exactly is a hook? It's the thing that captures the attention of somebody who casually comes across your video that keeps them from moving on to the next one. And I used to struggle with this because the content that I create is more of a story. Like, I need you to buy in, I need you to hang around to see where it's going. And if the first 2 seconds aren't super appealing to you, then maybe you don't get to the payoff. And what I've had to do is restructure the way I think about this. Because the vlog style content that I create is so raw, I can't really control where it's going to be. Like, I might have an idea of what the narrative is going to be, but I really don't know where it will end until we get to the end. So these days, I don't make the hook first. I actually make it last. After I know where it ends and how it began, I'm able to make a far more interesting hook because I know what the payoff is because I've already seen it, which doesn't always work when it comes to storytelling. The other thing is that hooks don't necessarily have to be something that you're delivering right to camera. Hooks can be auditory, they can be visual, and they can even be text. Because I make story-based content, my hook might not necessarily be, here's the thing they never tell you about. For me, it might be something that's visual. I might just use a really beautiful, eye-catching image to draw your attention in, so maybe you stick around and watch the rest of the video. There are many different types of hooks, and it took me a while to really think about them in a way that made sense for the way I want to deliver my content. I learned storytelling through professional wrestling. Not the moves or the matches, but through the storylines. Growing up, professional wrestling had it all. Intrigue, love, backstabbing, like it was a full-on soap opera. And they kept storylines going week to week with multiple TV shows leading to a pay-per-view event at the end of the month. The idea of being a wrestler is completely absurd. You're walking around in tights and a mask, you got entrance music, you're walking down, you're really believing this character you're portraying, which is often based off of some ridiculous gimmick. But in order for it to work, you have to commit. So each wrestler would have their own elements that make them special. For The Undertaker, it would be the lights turning on. For Stone Cold, it would be the glass shattering. Once any one of these visual or auditory cues would happen, we knew something exciting was going to happen. And you can do the same thing with the storytelling that you're doing right here online. Now, once I finish crafting the story, then I go into the hook, because the hook will determine what the title is actually going to be. And at that point, I'm trying to figure out what's the most interesting thing for the viewer. Is it the A story or the B story, or maybe even it's just one particular line that I said in the video that might keep someone watching a little bit longer? And that's why it can take a little bit long to figure this part out, but it is in fact probably the most important part of anything you create, because you really only have a few seconds to keep someone interested, if you can even get them to click. You're not making a highlight reel of what you did today, but you are documenting the perspective on the life you're living. Two people can live the exact same moment and walk away with completely different stories. The most valuable thing that you can offer is yours. So I'm just out here trying to get a little bit of studying done. This weather has ruined the entire spring break. It's supposed to rain for, I think, like 9 days straight, which kind of kills some of my plans, but that's okay. You know, I do need to get some studying done. If you're new here, for the most part, this channel follows my life as a single dad and a creative, and I'm currently getting ready for this electrician's pass. So my content mirrors my life. Whatever I have going on personally, that's what the content will reflect. But when it comes to coming up with ideas for your content, this may be where I'm able to offer a little bit of assistance. Most vloggers focus on what they're doing and where they're going. But to me, the interesting part isn't what I do or where I go. It's what I have to say about it. For example, in my last video, I started out helping my friend out with a film project. It was a blast, and I could have made the entire video about that. But instead, that entire video is about the idea of support. You supporting your friends, what you are expecting in terms of support, and what support means to others. There are times when I can, of course, focus on what I'm doing, but the perspective is what's unique to me.
That's what I got so far.
You should send these to me so I can put them in the vlog. These look really good. The ideas come from absolutely anywhere. A conversation I have, something I see, a movie, a song. I'll have a conversation with somebody and realize that's the same thing that other people are struggling with, and it's something I want to talk about. Like, if I have an opinion, I want to share it. I think the rain is starting to come down. But the main takeaway here is just whatever happens in life is just the inspiration. But it doesn't mean I don't capture it when it's just a thought. We got to go. I escaped the rain, but I'm back at the house and it's been a long week of filming and it's time to start editing. Now, I used to come into my vlogs with a very clear idea as to what I want them to be about, which I try to do, but at the same time, I don't worry about it. Like, I let whatever happens happen. I experience life naturally, and then I just talk about whatever I want to talk about. But when I sit down to edit, that's when I start to slowly reveal the story. My first step is to just line up all those talking head segments and see exactly what's happening in every scene. But then I start to slowly strip away the things that are redundant or that don't make sense. And usually that's when the story starts to reveal itself. Like, there's usually a bunch of unnecessary explanations or incoherent thoughts, just a bunch of stuff that I slowly strip away. Sometimes I see things in individual frames, or there's something that I said that didn't make sense at the time. Now, in the full context of the entire video, actually makes sense. And of course, because I've been vlogging for a couple of years now, editing has gotten a lot easier. Like, I've got a bunch of pre-made text templates and intros, music, sound effects, things that I often use. Those are already pre-made, and I keep those on a separate timeline so I can easily drag and drop those into my project. But I don't pull it all the way in just yet because this is just shaping the idea as to what the video needs. But I'm not done just yet. I do begin to add music because music really does lay the foundation for the emotion in all of my scenes. And when it comes to music, that's where our sponsor comes into play. Music sets the tone from the jump. Sometimes I want something exciting and fast-paced, high BPM, and then other times it's more somber. I want something slower, and maybe I'm gonna bring in some horns. I wanna curate my videos as though they're a film, and in order to do that, I need a composer. Depending on the emotion I want to convey in one of my scenes, Track Club allows me to use the full song or break it down into stems to really create the space for me to do voiceovers and build anticipation for anything I'm going to say. Now, the Mix Lab is where you can find all the stems for any given song. Stems allows you to manipulate each individual component, whether that be the drums or the piano or the guitar. And as I'm integrating these songs in my video, sometimes I need to remove the vocals so I can do a voiceover, or other times I really want to feel the bass so that there's an emotional tie to any individual line that I'm giving. And I've teamed up with Track Club to offer you a 2-month free trial. So if you're looking for premium audio assets for your next video project, I highly suggest you check out Track Club with the link in the description below. But music is just one part of that final edit. I've made some selections and I've put them underneath each individual scene in my video, but I'm not 100% sure I'm there just yet. I think that's one of the reasons I struggle to call myself a content creator. It's because I'm not really creating vlogs. Like, I'm more like a sculptor. I just have a raw piece of stone and I slowly chisel away at what's there to reveal the actual art. And when you create authentically, there's just a lot of revelation, whether it be something that I see in myself, words that I'm repeating, or even noticing a tonal shift when I talk about specific things. I do feel like I sincerely am experiencing some of these moments for the first time when I actually watch them on screen. And that's when I have to decide, do I actually feel comfortable releasing it? And the answer is not always yes. Sometimes I decide to hold things back, but other times I feel like it would be doing a disservice if I didn't release it as is. One of the most important things I've learned over the last few years is that you simply don't need to include every single detail for your audience to truly understand the message. For me, the first pass is about becoming detached from what I thought the video was going to be, and instead choosing to allow the truth to reveal itself.
Documenting is messy, but after the first pass, pick up when you get to clean up. The common misconception is that some of us are carrying a tripod around ruining intimate moments to capture the perfect shot, when the reality is more of a hybrid of consistency and a little bit of luck.
Now, while I do pride myself on authenticity, it's Sunday, and this is typically the day, if ever, when I would do pickups, reshoots, and film my voiceovers. Now, I don't film them as much these days because I've figured out that that's when I can really be creative in finding a different way to fill those gaps. Talking heads are the structure. They're like the bones, but B-roll sequences and voiceovers are the joints. Like, they're what holds everything together. They're what allow me to really get my pacing together. They allow me to fill any gaps in terms of things that I don't say completely, or if something's a bit confusing because I got cut off while I was recording. So these pickup days are what allow me to go and get those more aesthetic shots in places that perhaps I couldn't film when they really happened. This is something that I do because I'm not worried about it when I'm actually filming the more structural parts of the video. But that's where so many people go wrong, because they were initially drawn into this style of content because of the visual. So they focus on that instead of focusing on like the structure, real life, in the moment, authentic moments. Like that's what makes the video work. The rest of it is just pretty pictures. And I will consistently use that phrase to remind you how unimportant that part actually is. Maybe an idea that I have on Monday becomes a video 3 weeks later, but if I waited until the third week, I wouldn't have filmed enough of it to have a cohesive story. Looks like I can't avoid the rain no matter what I do. So we've brainstormed, filmed, lived, experienced, reflected, and gone back out for pickups. So now it's time to really put it all together. This is the final pass. Up until now, it's just been structured, but now we really start to refine everything. At this point, we fill the gaps. All the things from the pickups and the voiceovers start to really come together. Now we can get very precise on our sound design and text, because now we know exactly where things are going to fall in the edit. But most importantly, this is where we start letting go. I realized that I didn't get certain shots, that maybe a certain thing could have been a little bit tighter, or it could have been more cohesive. And I have a deadline. I never obsess over a video so much that I forget that I'm not done. I'm going to make another one. This is just a chapter. These are pages from my diary. It's not the full book. Unironically, in filming this video, I found a pretty significant error, or at least to me. I had set the white balance to the wrong color temperature and agonized over whether or not I should refilm it. And even though I did, I will tell you, if this were just one of my standard vlogs, I wouldn't have. Part of documenting my life is doing just that. It's not always perfect. It's oftentimes messy. But the main thing is for me to just live. I've made the mistake of focusing so much on the cinematics that I miss important moments in my life. I'm never disappointed that I captured something imperfectly. I'm documenting my life authentically and telling what I think are important stories that one day my son can enjoy. But honestly, I would actually love to hear how you guys do it. There's always something to learn. And even though I've been doing this for a while, I still want to get better. One of the best parts of life is that you never stop learning. So teach me something. See you guys in the next one.